HOA Today. HOA Today is a live stream about homeowners associations. It is brought to you by Zayuk Smart Property System. Zayuk is a software company and inspection company, and we provide you the deliverables, a reality capture of your property in the context of software, so you can use visual context to understand and distribute the information of your property, in addition to other protocols like voting, asset management, such as your reserves, maintain your reserve study there, and handle payments and invoicing, in addition to the reality capture, which is a way to de- deliver information to your vendors. And we have a request for proposal system as well as a portal for your vendors to actually pay you out. So if you are a contractor and interested in providing these sort of deliverables to your customers, consider reaching out to us and using AI in a construction sense. So we'll continue now to some current events in HOAs. Okay, one thing we've spoken about is Utah new ombudsman, HOA ombudsman, to help resolve disputes between HOAs and homeowners. This article by KSL references Hadley installed landscaping that uses little or no water, but with an HOA, within days, his HOA told him he needed to rip it out. Didn't jive with the bylaws. I would not purchase a home through an HOA, quote unquote. Common sentiment, free speech and parking to aesthetics and unexpected assessments. Reported on friction between homeowners and associations many times. Aaron Ryder is the state's first HOA ombudsman for the Utah Department of Commerce. Quote unquote, what do you think of HOAs? Ryder was asked. Quote unquote, the jury is still out, she laughed. The issue with HOAs that we're all finding is it's an inherently difficult system due to the lack of protocol, financial protocol, dark corners, huge places where people can. It's a difficult system when everyone owns it, no one owns it. And when you have owners coming in and out, and these are consumer level owners making some of the biggest purchases of their life usually, and believing these purchases are stores of value, and it also happens to be their residence, it is a very big deal for people. And in the last few years, we've seen HOA fees increase. We've seen inflation take a hold of taxes, as well as, again, HOA fees, and the mortgage rates are not low right now. Although we are in a period where a lot of people have either no mortgage or a very low rate on mortgage. But HOA fees have still increased. And in some states, insurance has increased to the level where it's becoming a huge issue, like Florida and California. And one issue that we see Georgia and Utah passing these laws is that there's a huge, there are too many dark corners, and industry standards are not homeowner friendly enough. It is an age when we go into this crypto age. I think I think Gen Z understands this, the younger generation, the level of hyper transparency in the world. The world is so hyper transparent, whether we want that or don't want that is irrelevant. The world is moving to a position where you have cameras everywhere, and that includes on properties. There are cameras everywhere. networking capabilities everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. And hyper networking is, and so you can just share, you can first document those things in a video context or a photograph context between a phone or a Ring doorbell or whatever type of doorbell is there. And then you can download it, send it, and or upload it to the internet, and it becomes a high, we're in, again, an age of hyper networking, so that information is transmuted very quickly. And the same is with homeowner associations. They are in a period, we are moving towards a period of high financial transparency, and this industry has traditionally been one of low financial transparency. And it's not also just low financial transparency, although that is one of the largest highlights that people have. Additionally, it is a lack of understanding of the construction and engineering requirements that go into maintaining enterprise level assets. That's the thing many people that purchase into these homes don't understand, is that they are purchasing a portion of a business that owns enterprise level assets. It isn't a community, but it is a nonprofit organization, more often than not registered with the state, and the property that it owns is at the enterprise level. It is not at the consumer level, which means a single home, a single family house, I would say, is at the consumer level. But understanding the HOA, such as a condo association, a townhome association, when the level of, I would say, the amount of shared resources between, the amount of shared utilities between units grows. When there are shared walls, and then we'll talk about how one legislator in Florida spoke about removing HOAs, and here's an article about pushback. So, a South Florida lawmaker's suggestion to abolish Florida HOAs is drawing sharp opposition from industry leaders. Remarks energized disaffected homeowners statewide, alarmed the trade group that represents Florida's community association managers. The notion of dissolving HOAs is legally dubious and economically reckless. You certainly cannot retroactively ban or dissolve these community associations. Legal contracts that homeowners sign to protect their quality of life, their cost of living, and to protect the rights of all other community association homeowners. I believe that that is true. That's my personal belief, is that without these organizations, it would be very difficult for most people to consider purchasing real estate. But that doesn't mean that there aren't some flaws within the operations of the businesses that need to be addressed. And people feel at this point across many parts of the nation that those need to be addressed at the state level, that it can't just be the homeowner versus the HOA. You can see that in Utah, you can see that in Georgia, you could see that in California, and you can see that in Minnesota. Can an HOA be dissolved? Why, it might be almost impossible. 65% of Floridians living in community associations reported satisfaction with their HOA, and 68% agreed HOA rules improve their quality of life. Remove the right people to choose where they want to live. 2, force taxpayers who don't live in HOAs to cover costs these communities now pay themselves. And then we spoke about Paul and Brandy Miller of Odessa, who have filed lawsuits and launched Facebook groups. We spoke about that yesterday. We spoke about campaign follows a string of high-profile HOA controversies from across the state, including the jailing of a woman over brown grass. That's really interesting because when I started these live streams, which was about 3 months maybe ish ago, that was one of the first live streams I had. And it's interesting to consider that that's coming around full circle, being referenced down again, because it did seem like an extreme event. And it seems to be being referenced in retrospect as an extreme event. The state should ask if HOA still makes sense. That's in this article. Particularly single family associations that in his view deliver little more than a monthly bill. This is this is what we just spoke about when two residents share walls and share roofing, the complexity of the system and the management of those resources and those amenities is not able to be divvied up so easily. And the community association comes into almost necessity. The issue is the management and the distribution of the information financially. That is probably the only issue that people have. And there's a lack of the distribution of information as well, which is where Zayu comes in with our asset ledger. Is you don't have to necessarily communicate the context of everything that's going on. You can use the app to communicate those contexts, especially the state of various work orders throughout the property that people are asking, okay, what happened here? Why is this going on here? And I think we're going to get to that point. It seems like the information is people just want their information, and we've spoke about this, and it's probably the most important aspect of information security. So I have another live stream called Information Security Now. Information Security Now is a critical live stream because it's all about information security. It's all about who has the information, how is it being delivered, is it accurate, and when and where is it being delivered, in what context. And it's very important to consider that. And this industry in particular has had a difficult time communicating the context of what is the property's information. And it goes to the idea that when everyone owns something, no one owns anything. Okay, we'll continue. We spoke about this yesterday. Georgia Senate Committee holds first hearing on HOA oversight. There's no article here, so I'll continue. Here is another article that is a bit sensitive, but I'll read it. Parents of a quadriplegic teenager are in battle with their homeowners association over a wheelchair ramp for their front door. Corbin Phillips, 17, was paralyzed in a trampoline accident in August 2024 and is just beginning to regain some of the independence he used to have. He began driving after receiving a customized van. These trampolines are no joke. Not doing what I used to be doing. Can no longer go in and out the front door because of his steps. His parents wanted to build a ramp on the front of their home. They hired a contractor who drew up design. They submitted the plans to Morse Point HOA. Aesthetically unpleasing and not something they wanted on the front of their home. Flood of emotions that ranged from sheer anger to deep sadness. The HOA presented Phillips with an alternative design, said the ramp was too steep and didn't comply with requirements spelled out in ADA. Both the Phillips family and the HOA have since retained attorneys. Residents in our neighborhood to feel at home, and we support accessibility for all our residents, said a spokesperson for the HOA. A resolution. Family is making other modifications to their home in accordance with Corbin's needs. Well, hopefully Corbin, I'm not sure the status, but can heal and that can be resolved. Moving on, Utah's new HOA ombudsman to help resolve disputes. Okay, we just did that. Oh man, something crazy is going on with my mouse. This is from the Island Packet. HOAs have a bigger grip on South Carolina than most other states, new census data shows. Newly released data from the American Community Survey conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau. South Carolina is one of the top 10 states with the highest percentage of households paying HOA at number 9. 21.6 million HOA households. ACS defined homeowner association and nonprofit organization that manage housing in planned or gated communities that collect fees to manage common areas and amenities. Condo fees are defined similarly. The only difference noted is that they cover more shared services and structural features like roofs and hallways. And then the top 10 at number 10, Texas at 34.4, South Carolina at 9, 34. Texas was 34.3, South Carolina at 34.4, Maryland at 37.7, DC at 38.6, Delaware at 40.5, Hawaii at 42, Colorado at 42.4, Florida at 44.3, Arizona at 44.7, Nevada at 51.3. Not evenly distributed. States with the smallest share of fee-paying neighborhoods include Maine, North Dakota, Rhode Island, South Dakota, and Wisconsin, ranging between 7.7 to 10.5. Highest fees, New York 739, DC 505, Hawaii 470, Massachusetts 376, Connecticut 351, New Hampshire 316, Rhode Island 314, New Jersey 300, California 278, Minnesota 269. Minnesota kind of stands out as a dark horse. It's really interesting because you have Wisconsin at a low, 7.7 and 2.5, and then you have the Dakotas. But then I believe Minnesota is in between those two states and yet has a very different approach to homeowner associations within the state, where it has an ombudsman. It seems to have some of the highest fees, where those other states are not listed here. Okay, community associations in South Carolina. Roughly 7,400 HOA and condo associations across the Palmetto State. Larger neighborhoods like Sea Pines and Hilton Head and Briarcliff Acres in Horry County. High number of communities dotted across the state. Complaints. They logged the complaints across counties here in the Island Packet. Nice. Okay. Okay. So let me get some more out. Do. So this was from June. This was almost 3 months ago, over 3 months ago. Homeowners in Houston subdivision say they fear foreclosure after fines. Enwood Forest subdivision in 2019 had a HOA scandal. President was criminally charged. Older homeowners skeptical about paying dues. And some residents even didn't think the HOA existed. Confused because she didn't understand. And this individual actually owes $10,000 in unpaid dues and legal fees. They try to work with homeowners to avoid foreclosure. Crest oversees 105,000 homes. It seems to have affected multiple homeowners. We spoke about this too, I believe. Under $20,000 to pay my house off. And this is about communication. It's unfortunate that it gets to that level. Sometimes people do not take communication seriously. Okay, we'll move on. This is from News Channel Nashville. Property management company under investigation after HOA discovers thousands in missing funds. Mount Juliet police investigate a certain property management company after homeowners discover missing funds. Forged documents in Hickory Hills community. Under investigation, discovering missing funds, forged documents, leaving residents questioning what happened to thousands of dollars. Spent years seeking answers. Couple attended HOA board meetings. Situation escalated when the HOA board requested financial documentation. Showed the Hickory Hills Homeowners Association had $263,575.29 in funds. However, the board asked for audits to verify these numbers. Problems emerged. Only found 18,000. 2 months later, they fired the property management company. That's huge. That's a really, really huge thing. And I'll go back to Zayuk. This is why you need to, as a property, it's not about whether you trust people or not. It's about not allowing, just remove trust from your equation. It's a trustless property system. It's a transparent property system. It works from the property outwards in the sense that we give your property profiles. We give your assets profiles. We do something called tokenizing real estate, which I'm not going to get into, but we do it to actually give your property the information to take advantage of ownership. You are the owner. You need that information. You can't allow that information to go from place to place. And when you allow reports to be given to you instead of actually seeing the numbers for yourself like you do with a tool like Zayuk Safe, it becomes a huge issue. And then managing those funds across your property also requires an inspection and a reality capture to give other people the context of those property and stop putting trust in other stakeholders. All right, we'll continue. This is from the Minnesota Reformer in March. One company, HOAs confront huge bills, conflicts of interest, and bad insurance. New townhome community in Enver Grove Heights 8 years ago. Stunned when he received a $16,000 bill from the HOA in January for a roof replacement. We've spoken about this due to hail damage. Insurance policy was, in fact, covering the replacement according to the letter, but the damage was valued at $1.7 million, far less than the policy's deductible of $2.6. So the owners of 104 in the community would have to cover the bill. Some homeowners have insurance to cover their bill under a policy called loss assessment coverage, but many residents are not covered. Homeowners across the state are confronting massive and unexpected bills due to severe weather. Alarmed because the HOA board hired Gas and Construction and Maintenance to replace the roof, which is owned by the same company as their property manager, Gas and Property Management. This becomes, again, Zayuk has an RFP, request for proposal, and contracting system. So you can begin to distribute the need for your various contracts more effectively in a way that it's trustless again. So you take authority of your contracts, you take authority of your information. Pattern of self-dealing. All right, we'll continue. So confronting massive and unexpected bills due to severe weather, collapsing insurance market, questionable board decision making, and apparent conflicts of interest. Alarm because the board hired, so we spoke about that. Critics say the board are often filled by volunteers who defer to the advice of managers, and that's true. They are at the consumer level. These are consumers, and the assets are owned at enterprise level. Pattern of self-dealing. HOA placed a lien on the home. Yes. So it's important to make your property trustless. And that's what Zayuk does, and that's our mission, to increase transparency, because it's a demand now. It's not even not even just a demand, it's almost a requirement. Well, thank you everyone. Hopefully you all are having a good week, and hopefully you all take care. This has been